In our last segments, we covered self-promoting and ingratiation strategies, and now we will finish self-presentation with 4 status-conveying strategies. Managing information about the self with the goal of claiming and/or maintaining high status. People who have high status gain access to greater educational opportunities and resources. They are more likely to be accepted into affluent social circles that afford opportunities to make money, more likely to find desirable mates and wield political power, less likely to be bothered and hassled by others. With all of these advantages and more, it is no wonder people with high status are often motivated to keep it and engage in many tactics to display it. People of status have a tendency to mark their territories by displaying status artifacts, such as diplomas and certificates for high prestige kinds of occupations and skills, placing their offices on a top floor and/or obtaining a corner office with a view, displaying an opposing desk, etc. Some businesses exist for the sole purpose of manufacturing artificial status artifacts. I was invited to have my biography, photograph, and essay published in the first edition of a heavy leather-bound book entitled 1,000 Great Intellectuals. I was told I would also receive a gold-finished medal and framed certificate. All I had to do to receive this honor was pay $1,125. Consumption displays refers to publicly expending large amounts of money and resources. Upper classes set themselves apart from others with large mansions in expensive neighborhoods, automobiles that oftentimes cost as much as others' homes, expensive jewels, original artwork, etc. Middle classes tend to set themselves off from lower classes with brand name clothing, SUVs, big screen TVs, etc. Managing associations involves associating with or linking yourself to people of status and power, and disassociating yourself from those without. One of my colleagues here at ASU, Bob Cialdini, is known internationally for his studies in what he calls basking in reflected glory, the tendency to associate with winners. For instance, in one study, he found that students wear more sports apparel to classes after their teams win compared to after they lose. They bask in the team's reflected glory by associating with them more after these wins. A very astute viewer of this lecture might say, I was basking in reflected glory when I mentioned that Bob is my colleague. Damaris forged letters of recommendation from the most prestigious individuals in the field, served him in many ways. They helped establish his competence. They reduced chances of calling to check. Who dares to bother the President of the United States or Warren Buffett? And they helped create a high status impression. This person certainly wouldn't write a letter of recommendation for a nobody. Displays of dominance, the 4th status conveying strategy, can be verbal or nonverbal. So when I say nonverbal, high status people tend to adopt more relaxed, open postures that take up more space and lay claim to greater territory. So in a meeting, a high status person is more likely to sit like this than one of low status, and one of low status more likely to sit like this. High status people are more likely to interrupt others, place themselves in positions of prominence, like at the head of a table, They're more likely to touch and stand closer to others of lower social classes. In other words, encroach on their personal space. As a review now, which status conveying strategy does this comic illustrate? And yes, that would be dominant displays. Verbal in this case. Remember, dominance displays can be verbal or nonverbal. This concludes self-presentation, but here's another fun way to review some of this material. Go back and review the 4 ingratiation strategies with a friend. Then assign one of you to play the role of an interviewer and the other the applicant. Have the interviewer start asking a series of questions. The applicant should use just one strategy, but over and over again as they answer until the interviewer guesses the strategy correctly. Then switch roles using a different ingratiation strategy on the following round or rounds. Okay, in our last segment of this intrapersonal cognition lecture, we will explore autobiographical memory and affective forecasting.